All right, welcome to the Sikh Meets World podcast. I'm Sean Guman.
My name is Gurwan Singh Ahuja.
And we are in LA.
We're in a Airbnb in a closet talking to you in this podcast.
Yeah, in Koreatown, so K-Town, what up?
Yeah, what's up, K-Town, from the closet. But yeah, we're about to release a video with Funny or Die. We're about to film a video with Funny or Die tomorrow. Very exciting. We've been working on it for over a year. And this podcast covers the female lead, just Lean, who's being portrayed by Insta star Sandy Gill, aka TheSandyLion. And we talked about, how she built such a big audience on Instagram, her career in fashion, her career in education, how those two things are somehow, related, which there is a relation you'll see in the podcast. There's a common theme throughout her whole life that you'll see. And just like what she wants to do with her career and what she wants to do with this video. So it was super fascinating conversation because there's a lot of Sikhs that are really interested in fashion. And I think she gives some great tips to people that want to pursue that.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's grown into such a big audience in such a quick time. And I think she's a fantastic person to play this character that we've been thinking about for so long. And when we came across her profile and was like, this is perfect.
Perfect person. Yeah. So super cool. Also good friends with other very powerful influencers, Humble the Poet and Lilly Singh. I think it's fair to say Lilly Singh's like a full-blown superstar now. So, but anyway, without further ado, TheSandyLion. Welcome to a new episode of Sikh Meets World. We're here with Sandy Gill, aka TheSandyLion. So Sandy, you are like a million things. You're a fashion designer.
A
chameleon, yes. Fashion designer, a stylist, an author, a teacher, and a lot more stuff. How would you describe yourself? And what we're ultimately trying to drive up to is your life story here. So how would you describe yourself?
I would probably use one of two words, either teacher or chameleon, what I said earlier, because I feel that teaching really encompasses everything that I do, whether it's on the fashion side or on social media or in the classroom. So it's like that's kind of my one title. And chameleon, just like all the different stuff I do requires adapting and learning and feeling or adapting to an atmosphere and whatnot. So I think those two would really describe what it is that I do. If I had to use a word.
Okay, got it. So you're most infamous for fashion. Was there like a single moment that compelled you to get into fashion? Was it something you were always interested in? But how did you decide you wanted to pursue it?
So growing up, it was always something that intrigued me, and I, always saw my dad watching him get dressed up and pick a different tie to match his suit and just be really passionate about putting things together. And even my sisters, I've grown up around really fashionable people, just really artistic minds, and that manifested itself after I graduated from Teachers College. So I went to school for teaching, and everybody around me, whether it's Humble, Lily, my friends, my family, everyone's been very, very artistic. And that was when I was I think I'm going to try and also dabble into art and try to showcase my fashion or my outfits and whatnot online. And really my friends pushed me to showcase it on the internet and just share my ideas. That's literally how it happened.
So how was it growing up? Were you did you have a creativity streak as a child, or did you try on different, some girls say that, I was always trying things on as a kid, and that just manifested itself to me being into to clothing and
definitely. So like I said before, watching my dad and my sisters, and also the fact that I had to do as much with as little clothing as I had. Like, just with my sisters. Every year, my mom would be like, okay, 2 shirts, 2 pairs of pants. This is your back to school shopping budget.
Oh, wow.
Like, because I come from a family of 4 daughters, so it wasn't like every year, you know, everybody just goes on a shopping spree. So I always had to make do with what I had and like borrow off my sisters, and that really pushed the creativity. So I wanted to be creative and like have a different outfit every day or a different look every day, but worked with what I had. So just really fine-tuning that. Even in school, the subjects that I excelled in the most were art. I wasn't really like a math person, language or art, because I could express myself in writing or I could express myself through art. So just really fine-tuning that through the years. And then going to school only to realize that maybe I should just be doing something creative.
Right. So it's actually being restricted and not being able to have so many options actually is what drove your creativity.
Yeah, and just forced me to work with what I had to express myself.
Were you like, was there moments in school because you were so limited, you realized like, oh man, I gotta like, because like I'm trying to think back when I was like in elementary school or younger, like the cool thing to do was like wear a really cool outfit and then like sharpen your pencil so everyone could see your cool outfit.
Oh yeah. All day walk to your locker and like casually during class.
Yeah, be like,
totally.
Oh, did you just see what I just did? Yeah, but so was there like moments where you're like, oh shit, like I don't look as good as the other girls do, and like I'm like something I want to focus on?
To be honest, no. It was never about that for me. It was just always about expressing my emotions through clothing, because I never really did it by talking to my friends or talking to my family. I never really expressed myself in that way. So that was how I would express myself. If I was just having a blah day, I was going to rock a sweatshirt and jeans. If I was having a really good day, felt really good about myself, I was going to do something to my hair today and, you know, take it up a little bit. And then there were times when like I'd know my eldest sister's going on vacation. So that was like the game-changing week, because I would go into her closet, make sure I put everything back where it was, and that would be the week where I would just be feeling the greatest. And it was never because I wanted to feel like the other girls or dress like the other girls, or even that something that the other girls were wearing made me feel like I needed to have it. It was just my form of expression.
Got it. The reason why I asked that question is because I was actually not. I was never that into fashion before, but there was like a single moment that instigated me to like think more thoughtfully about what I was wearing. And I don't know if I'm very fashionable now, but like at least I'm much more thoughtful about it. So the story's a little it's much more scarring than like than you're like yours.
I have a story too.
You have a scarring story? Okay. I'll tell my scarring story, then I want to hear your scarring story. So my scarring story was like, we were talking about politics earlier because that's what I used to do. So I was working on the Obama campaign, and we had won the campaign, and I didn't know President Obama was coming to the office. And I was wearing gym shorts and like a white shirt, like a white like undershirt, because I was like, oh, we won. I just like don't care about what I'm wearing. And he randomly shows up to the office because we won, and he's walking up and giving everybody hugs, and he like stops and looks at me, and he sees that I'm wearing gym shorts, and he's like the president of the United States, and he looks at me, he's like, he gives me that look like what, and then. He looks down at my legs. He's like, "What? Nice legs, man." But he's not saying like nice legs, like you have nice legs. He's like saying like, "What the hell are you wearing? I'm the president. I'm the commander in chief of the United States. Why are you wearing shorts in front of me?" And then he gave me a hug, and it was great, and everyone laughed. But like in that moment, I was like, I got to be more mindful about what I'm wearing. And then ever since then, I've been very mindful about what I'm wearing. And then after that, I wore khakis for like a week, even when I went to sleep. Every day. So like that was my scarring, like, oh my God, I messed up so bad that I really have to be like, wear nice clothes. That, I don't know if you never had that.
Well, my scarring story is a bit different. When I was really young, we were going to a wedding reception, you know, banquet hall party, and back then again, like I mentioned earlier, my dad was very meticulous in like picking his outfits, and he would really put a lot of time and effort into what he'd wear to wedding receptions. You know, you only get like one hall party a year, so I remember this one event we went to, and everyone, like my mom was telling me about how some of the other uncles had made fun of him.
Yep.
And were like, oh, you guys were probably late because he was getting ready or picking his tie. Or
Yep.
just poking fun at him for that.
Right.
And that moment, even though it didn't really affect anyone in my family too much, it was always something that I'd think about. I was just like, why are these guys making fun of my dad? Like, I was all in defensive mode.
Right.
And for me, it just didn't make sense because I was like, it makes him so happy. Like, he looks forward to coming home early to pick out his outfit and put it on. And that's just like a happy place for him. And why are these guys making fun of him? So that would always like come back to mind when I'm getting ready or getting ready to go somewhere and remembering why I do it. Like, for that feeling.
Yep. That's really cool. That's
Mic
really cool.
drop.
Boom. Yeah. So dad is the main influencer here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're an influencer. So your dad is really the
daddy
influencer. Okay. Cool. Okay. He's the Darth Vader in this situation, but a nice one, a nice Darth Vader. Audience, I'm looking at my phone to pick the question. Sorry. So then let's get into like how you built such a big following then. So you knew you built this interest, you knew you wanted to do it. Like, could you walk through a little bit in detail, like how did you decide to take this interest and then use social media, and then how did you use it successfully? Because a lot of people want to do what you do and like build an audience that big, but not everyone has been able to do it. So if you could talk through how you got into leveraging social, and then why you think you've been successful at it.
So, like I was mentioning earlier, when I started social media, this was like in the beginning of the Instagram days, and I had a private account, and my friends, notably humble, was like, you need to take your Instagram off private and stop being a private fashion Instagram person. Like, put it out there for the world to see. And before that, I had never even thought of doing that or having that as an option. And when I did it, it felt really freeing, and it just felt like, oh, so many people are inspired, or they're, taking something from what I posted. Why was I holding this back from the world for so long?
Yeah.
And then just using that and being consistent with it, and posting inspiration every day or every week, and bringing forward new fresh ideas that people are motivated by and encouraged by. So just doing that, and of course, like I said, consistency, just working with the right people as well, like not being closed off, being open to collaboration. Working with Lilly was huge because at that time when she was attending different events, like, she would come to me and we would work together on outfits that would create a message that we're trying to send, and just continuously doing those kind of things, being open to them and just putting it out there for the world to consume was what I did.
So like consistency, being able to open to collaboration,
just being fearless and just
putting it out
there.
Right. Yeah. That actually really maps Lily's model on YouTube actually. But you just did it on Instagram.
Super, super grateful to have her around to kind of pick her brain and see how she did it, and kind of steer away from some of the mistakes that she shared, and just...
Right. And for the people that don't know, the Lily that she's talking about is Lilly Singh, who is...
Superwoman,
Yeah, well, which I would say arguably she's the biggest YouTuber, like, ever. So... Also has a new show coming out on NBC, so check that out. So you've amassed this following. What are you ultimately trying to share with your followers here? Like, what do you want your? I'm sure you're very thoughtful about this. Like, what are you trying to get across to your audience?
The main thing that I would say I'm trying to get across is just being fearless and sharing those moments with other people, because that's ultimately what we're all trying to do, is just live without fear and figure out what we're scared of, and just get to know ourselves really, and share that with the world and share that with the people that we love. That's in a sentence, that's really what I'm trying to do, whether that's through my teaching, sharing my experiences, brightening people's day just with inspiration. That's it. All I want to do is get to know myself really well and share that with the world and share my messages and what inspires me with the world, hoping that it would put a smile on someone's face.
I also want to get to your career as an educator, but before we do that, if I want to kind of put a bow on this fashion conversation. He
was saying not to touch.
Oh yeah, he was telling me. Yeah, Sean was telling me, our comms director, not to touch the table. I'm touching the table. Thank you. Because I'm about to get yelled at. Anyway, yeah. To put a bow on the fashion comp piece is what if you were like just getting started in fashion, say you're like 22, 21 version of you out there somewhere, which I'm confident there is, and they want to get into fashion, what is your advice to them in terms of just being fashionable and to like actionable things they can either do to also inspire people with their fashion, either online or in person, or actually pursue it as a career?
I would say definitely make sure that first off it's incorporated in your daily life. Like every single day you're doing something that is feeding that fashion hunger, whether that's like dressing up in an outfit, taking a picture, posting it online, or going to the mall to be inspired by things that you see. Constantly feeding it and just learning and exposing yourself to that art every day is huge. I find sometimes you get so caught up in the business of it that you stop exposing yourself to the actual art on a daily basis, and that's something that I've learned. So that would be my number one tip: exposing yourself to it daily, right? Including it in your daily schedule, and not being afraid to share it with the world. Like put it out there, reach out to people who you want to share that with, whether it's dressing them up for an event or for your blog, what have you. Reach out to people, collaborate, and share.
Word. And then what many people may not know is that you are also an educator. How did you get into education, and then kind of bringing the conversation back to your childhood or early on? How did you get into education, and what motivated you to get into education?
That was actually not planned at all. I went to U of T for my bachelor's in political science, actually.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Because I was like, I'm going to be a politician. I'm going to be the prime minister of the country. This is my plan. Yeah. And then literally first year I was like, F this. I was like, nope. Yeah. This is just... I just found that it was something I was passionate about, but I felt like I wouldn't have been able to make the difference that I wanted in a job in politics. And my sister, one of them, and her husband are also actually teachers. Yeah. So at that time, I just saw that their life was pretty good. Like they really enjoyed what they were doing every day. Yeah. And they were really the only people in my life that...
This is so funny because I had the exact opposite. Like I wanted to be a teacher, but then I decided... Continue. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, I just like out of everybody that worked around me, like they were just the people that really had interesting stories, and they... And I love being with kids. Like, I love kids more than I love adults. I could spend my day with kids and just, like, 1 hour with adults, and that would be, like, my ideal day setup. Wow. So it just made sense. And so I did my teaching certificate, got my master's of education, and then literally just got a job immediately after. And I loved it. And I still do. Like, I love every single day going into work. Wow. It's just a very fulfilling career. Yeah. And I find that being surrounded by children on a daily basis really keeps me creative and really just keeps me stimulated and just like down to earth. And the routine. Everything just at that point, all the ducks lined up. I was just like, okay, this is a 8 to 3. Job. Summers off. But all the planning and the work that goes into it is stuff that I actually give a shit about. Like I want to plan a lesson for a grade 6 class. I want to like be creative with the way that I present this unit to my students. I want to be creative with my seating plan. Like this is the stuff that I really was enthusiastic about. And so it made total sense. And for me, I figured all that out on the way.
Yeah.
Like I'd never had a plan for it.
Yeah.
I never knew that this is what things would look like for me, but figured that out on the way. And that just goes to really show, if there's any young people listening, like you don't have to have a plan.
Right.
You can just kind of make it up on the way.
Right. That I agree. I did not have a plan. That's where that converges back. What grades do you teach?
I've taught, this year I was teaching grade 6,
Yep.
but I've taught grade 3, grade 8, grade 2,
Yep.
kindergarten for a very, very short period of time. But
Yeah.
my most recent and favorite grade to teach would be grade 6.
Why?
Because the age is really great. Like they're at an age where they're really eager to come to school and they're enthusiastic about it, but at the same time, like, they're independent and you can have a conversation with them and you can kind of delegate and they'll
pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. And like they're not like the younger grades, sometimes it's just a lot of like on your feet and a lot of just answering questions and just
why
yeah, exactly. Why?
Yeah.
Miss Gill, can I go to the bathroom? Can I go? And like those for me
You're
that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it was just the perfect grade, and I really love the grade 6 curriculum. It's fun to teach. So.
And then is your curriculum like is it, because I remember my elementary school teachers basically taught everything.
So elementary teaches everything other than well, in some schools it's different, but I did not teach gym, music, French, but everything else.
What's your favorite subject to teach?
Probably history or language, and art, of course. It's just hard to pick because even though I hated math as a student, it's actually a little bit easier to teach because it's...
There's an answer.
Sorry?
Yeah, there's an answer.
Yeah, there's an answer, but also, like, it's just divided into, like, clean-cut lessons. Like, you're going to teach this one day, and it's just very... It's easier to organize.
Right.
But I have the most fun, probably, with history and art.
What history do you even learn in 6th grade? I don't even remember.
So in grade 6, it's actually just about the early civilizations.
Yeah.
And then we talk a lot about, like, immigration...
Yeah.
Into Canada.
Yeah. Okay.
So
cool.
it's interesting because the history is always something that the kids are keen to like connect with and relate to, and I just find I can share a lot of personal stories with them that keep them on the edge of their seat.
Yeah.
Like really interested.
Yeah.
So.
Is there any like fun teacher moments that you want to share that you have?
Fun teacher moments. This one. We have to come back to this one.
Okay, well, never mind. No fun teacher moments.
I cannot think. And also I have to think if I'm allowed to share them.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you know what? Let's not, because who knows.
Because some of the fun ones are the ones that I can't share.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, yeah, moving on. So you also wrote a book about education, about reading. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what motivated you to write the book?
So that book I actually wrote while I was still... completing my master's of education, and it was for a project that was based around literacy and just the access to literacy in different parts of the world. And so I had decided to write a children's book for that project, and at that time I just wrote a bunch of different poems or like, you know, a book of poems, and then I had made illustrations going with each poem, and it was just all based around literacy and like promotion of it in the world. And fast forward about 4 years, I still had the originals. I had all the drawings, I had all the poems, and I decided to just put it into a book.
Oh, wow.
And because the poems put together do share a story, and the story is about children all around the world reading a book and sharing how reading is the happiest part of their day.
Right.
And each illustration is a kid from a different part of the world reading the exact same book.
Yeah.
So it's just every time I read it to a set of kids, like that's what they pick up is like, oh, there's people from all around the world and they're all reading the same book. And that's really to go to show that reading is one language that we all share.
Right.
And no matter where you are in the world, you can read the same book as me, and that's somewhere we can connect. And and it was just like to promote that idea and to share that idea with kids so that, you know, they think like, oh my God, there are kids in some parts of the world who don't have the ability to do this.
Right.
And what can we do about it?
Right. How did you decide to write poems about reading?
Because to be very honest, following like a poem outline is easier to write to for me than just going free and just writing whatever. So I was following like a format.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I'm trying to think of one of the pages. Like I was just following that format and then following the rhyme scheme and just writing a story about a kid in each country reading a book.
Interesting. Oh, wow. Okay.
Like Amr and Rima read folktales in the fields.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
No, I get it. I had to write a lot of poetry.
It was just like the base
school.
that I followed. It
Yeah.
was just easier to write to an outline
Then
for
like
me
just
than
complete
just going
randomness,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
No, I totally get that. That's cool. Where can people buy it?
It's on Amazon, and actually all the proceeds go to Me2E.
Yeah.
So it's just on Amazon. You can Google Reading All Around the World on Amazon, and it should come right up.
Our executive director bought a copy, so buy it. It's good.
Very
for her kids. She bought it
kid-friendly,
for her kids.
yeah.
She bought it for kids.
Actually, this past week in Toronto is Literacy Week.
Yeah.
So I actually did a week full of readings of my book in just classrooms and reading to kids and then having them connect to the text and had a whole lesson plan and everything.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
It's
cool.
just a really digestible book.
Yeah. So this is, I guess, the last question on education. We'll start wrapping this up. Because there's going to be a lot of people listening to this that also may want to get into education. What's your advice to those people?
Being teachers.
Yeah.
My advice to them is like, make sure first of all that you can be with children all day because
make sure you can handle the craziness.
Because
that's
it's
what
easily
that says.
like you can easily identify the people who are really doing it because of the kids and like to make that experience for them great. So just make sure, number one, that you will love being in a setting with children and make sure that you're okay with things changing up on you every day, because as a teacher you have to be very, very flexible and you have to be patient. So if one day you get into work and like one kid decides that you're not going to do what you plan to do, you have to be okay with that. Right. Or you have to be well equipped to kind of avert that.
Right.
So, yeah. And I think those are the two things that I learned very quickly.
Yeah, cool. The last question here before we get to the funny or die stuff, because that's why we're here. So one thing that obviously this is a Sikh-based podcast. One thing that I have noticed in our generation, actually, I think you're the first. No, I take that back because Arjun was the first. But like you're the second. You're the second person like in our generation that on this podcast. Most people that have been on it are older and have like done like been elected to high office. But one thing I've noticed in our generation is that like we as Sikhs take a lot of the values of our faith and it's kind of embedded in the way we approach and see the world. How has that been your experience? How has the values that you grew up being a Sikh influenced your career decisions or what you've decided to do and how you've decided to touch people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my upbringing as a Punjabi Sikh woman is very, very visible in all the work that I do. And, well, I mean, Sikhi means to learn and to be a student. And that plays its part in every aspect of what I do. So it's always just been about education, whether that's teaching people how to put an outfit together or teaching like a unit on Pythagorean theorem. Like it's just, or teaching a lesson on bullying. Like everything that I do has the backbone of education. And also Seva. Also my nephew's name, Seva. Seva, to give back and to just like community service and volunteering and just making sure, even though like what it is I'm doing online is helping somebody or is giving back in a sense.
Do you view that as a form of teaching? what you do on
Giving back?
No. Do you view what you do online with fashion as a form of teaching?
Yeah, 1000%. Like my 3 videos, 3 ways to style a pair of jeans. Like that's.
So to answer the first question, you're really just a teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
See, it's a full circle. That's all I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
An educator.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Sandy, the teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what's your ultimate goal? Because you're doing so many different things. Like I'm sure every day has to be crazy because you have to teach these kids. You have to be very attentive to them. But you also have this large audience that is looking for content. What is your ultimate, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
A good person.
Okay, that's BS. Get that out of here. Boo.
My goal is to be an example of a Punjabi Sikh woman who just didn't compromise that, but at the same time made that whatever she wanted it to be.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And to empower more girls, whether they are black, brown, white, Asian, like whatever they are, to do that. Like figure out what it is that they want to represent and just do it fully and wholly.
And then I guess this is my last question because we're running out of time. What is it then? Where are you ultimately trying to go? Are you trying to go and like be full fashion, or do you see yourself trying to do both, or where would you ultimately, if you could pick? Like I know what I would pick if someone just gave me blank slate, total control of what I wanted my career to be. But if you could totally just pick, what would you want to be?
I would definitely want to be working in music in some capacity, like as a stylist, and that would kind of be what I see for myself. But I know that that's going to change, and I think that's okay. Yeah. But I want to. I'm really bad at answering your question because every answer to my question is teacher. Like where do I see myself as an educator? Whether that's me working for on Jay-Z's next music video being the stylist.
Yeah.
Like that's
you're doing that. That's pretty cool.
Well, I'm not actually doing that, but I'm going to put that out into the universe. Exactly.
It's in there. It's in the universe. It's in the microphone.
Whether I'm doing that or whether I'm, working with Lilly or Humble and on a project of theirs as somebody that's dressing them for the red carpet. And that's where I see myself. And a lot of people ask me, like, will you quit your teaching job? When just do fashion full time. But I really think that for my peace of mind, I would never do that, and maybe just have it in my life in some capacity forever. So the answer to that question is also educator. Where do I see myself?
Right. So TheSandyLion, the educator.
There we go.
Thank you. So we're about to do a big video with Funny or Die. Funny or Die is the largest digital comedy company in the world. Started by Will Ferrell. You're going to be one of the stars in it. What motivated you to be in this video?
Definitely just the idea of bringing Sikhs to the mainstream. And I mean, like, I think that's already happening so much in so many different places. And I definitely want to be a part of that movement and share that and be involved in something that is sharing our beautiful religion and showcasing it on like a national platform. Right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that for me, like strategically, the thing is that like one, obviously to bring people into like our message and our values into the mainstream, and what I've learned from just doing this campaign, that our values really resonate with everybody, and not even because they're just like quote unquote Sikh values, but they're truly universal values.
And just educating people on that.
Right, 100%. And that's what this video, going back to being a teacher, that's what this whole video is about. It's literally teaching people in a comedic way, in a way that's open to people, and in a political context that I feel like is very tribal and loud, and not that. I hope this video will have a refreshing take on those things. And my ultimate hope for the community and for people like you is that it gives more people an opportunity that are creative on the biggest platforms in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I always want to acknowledge the people who are doing it right now already on the big platform, and I think that's such a big win for us, and we need to just keep being in the places and environments that allow us to continue to do that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes, subscribe to Sikh Meets World on your favorite podcasting platform, and share it with your friends and family. Stay tuned for our next episode, which comes out next month, and of course, be sure to check out the National Sikh Campaign website for more information.